G'day and welcome to part 7 of the Sigma. And you'll see what I'm talking about. I've had a lot of people saying, it's a resto. Well, it's not a resto, particularly when you see what I've done. Some of it's pretty rough. But we just want to get the car patched up and back on the road. What else is there? Got a cup of tea and I've ripped up one of my shirts. These ones, which I've been wearing for about 5 years on this. Have a look at Classic Solicas and more. Gentlemen, incredible fabrication skills and engine reconditioning skills. I don't like people slapping stuff together, even though I've slapped stuff together on the Sigma. Anyway, that's a different story. That's why I watch, particularly with engines, My Vintage Iron. He does really, really good stuff. He knows what he's talking about, and he's a proper engine reconditioner. This guy in Classic Solicas has done what he calls the Mozuki, which is a ride-on mower, all custom built with a GSX 400 four-cylinder engine. The reason I found it was the bike I had. Anyway, you always get in the comments, some hero's got a lawn tractor and started bagging this guy's work, and I dropped a comment, and of course he started calling me Junior, and it's pretty funny. So I left him a nice long one, and he's still what do you do with people like that, you know what I mean? So I just left it. But have a look at the Mozuki, a very, very good build. Now, in this one, we've finished the rust around the windows, cut a stack of it out, and also the stuff that was pitted. I cut it out, you know what I mean? I just welded stuff in because it's going to be better. And also blocked up the speaker holes, or just the part that was cut, around the boot lip and around the front, on the bottom corner and the top corner on the other side. So the only rust left is on the front of the sills, behind the guards. And I tried to patch that up and it blew through. And I thought, you know what, just going to cut that out too. But I need a roller. And I'm back at work day after tomorrow, which means I'm not going to have the time I've had so far. One more thing, cut that out of the red support. I'm not going to put a thing over the top, it's not really the right way to do it. This is a complicated piece in that to get a fold to do some of these joints is quite difficult. I might make it in 2 pieces. I've got an idea for it and I reckon it'll look alright, but we've got to get back to that when I go back to work. I'll just go in early one morning and do it. But I might have a practice first because I'm not sure how that'll turn out. Now, what else is there? Nothing. Why don't you have a look? Right, so it's night time, and I've decided to have a look at this wheel. Now, this wheel is revolting. You can see all this build-up of gunk. Now, as far as soft wheel steering wheels are concerned, these things are brilliant. I don't know who made them for Mitsubishi, or if Mitsubishi made them, but they're actually really good. They haven't fallen apart. Now, this stuff is just dirt. It's the sticky crap from people's hands while they're driving, and people do revolting things in cars, picking their noses and doing all sorts of stuff. So I dare say there's really, really, really foul stuff going on here. Now, have I got a blade? This wheel is covered in nonsense. Look at this. It just peels off in sheets. Good thing I haven't had a sharper today, because I'm about to have one now. So what we're going to do is mask it off. It's probably actually not that bad underneath all that crap. We have to be dead careful with how we do this. It's just so easy to spoil it. If we have overspray or whatever on the leatherette or whatever it is on the wheel. But I just wanted to clean it a little bit just to see the condition, and I must say it is absolutely perfect. We've just got to get that horrible muck off. So all I'm using, and I'll wash it with water after this, you can see it's rolled up there. I'm using this stuff, it's just kitchen cleaner, just to get this off. Can we see the transition between here and here? See all there, between the finger bits? Absolutely foul. Right, I can't do any painting in here until I finish welding. I've taken the battery tray out. I need to paint down there. At a loss as to what to do with that, because if I weld the tray on, I can't paint down there. And if I paint it and weld it, I'm going to spoil the paint. So I've got to think about that. Might be better to just weld some captive nuts behind there and just bolt the tray in, provided it doesn't fail with the battery. Got some 120 mild sheet stock here. That's what I was going to stick over there. Now I've changed my mind with that. That's not the way to do it. What we need to do is we need to cut this, both sides, do it a bit neater than that. It'll get to, gee, there's a reflection, maybe 40 in from each side, 40 mil. Bit over an inch there. And the issue is this. I've got a substructure underneath which is spot welded, on here, onto that part there. This one here extends under and hangs down, and it's spot welded to that. That is in turn spot welded to this skin. So we need to drill the spot welds here, we need to drill the spot welds along there, hammer and dolly this thing because it's all over the shop. It's just, I don't know how they thought that was a repair. There's a hole there, I don't know what that is. I think we'll put a patch in there. And you can see they've cut the structure there and welded it. So I want to take the top off, really find out what they've done and do it properly. Because this thing's been smacked. So I think the first thing we need to do is start drilling these out. But I need to make a patch. And I need it to have about a 1/8 reveal on the back here, straight up. It needs to step down and then down to here. Now what I'm going to do, this is beaten in here. I think the original was scalloped there as well, and that's for the structure on the bonnet when it closes. I might keep that reveal all the way along and just blend it in at the edges. It's going to be easier doing that on a folder than it is just to sort of do that bit. So I need to have a look at that a bit further and come up with some sort of answer. That popped off far too easily. We've got rust under there, and it's not straight, it was never going to be any good. I've popped through in a couple of areas that I really don't care. And I've scribed the line where I want to cut. I always use masking tape when I'm cutting, so I can really see what it is I'm cutting. And that way I can make the cut neat. I don't want to cut through this, I'm just cutting the skin because there's structure under there I want to keep. So this way, I know exactly what I'm cutting on the inside of those two lines. I've just got to make sure I don't go through it all. But there's a good chance that structure is going to have to be cut anyway. Now I've left that up right there, that's holding this. That's a support for it. I'm only interested in taking that top skin off. So I think we'll just chop him off, hey? Just going to feel around under here. The structure starts halfway through that hole. Okay, so the structure's only about 1 inch thick. So it's just in that area there. So that's cool. That's alright. So I'm going to do the other side now. Right, so we've cut the bulk of it off. I don't want to cut in here too much. I'm going to cut into the outside part of that structure. I'm just going to use a little cut-off wheel. Cut through there. That's where it was welded. It's a real bloody mess. Just trying to break these spot welds and having a bit of trouble. Ooh. That is a factory bend in there too. I couldn't tell from that side. So what have we got? I'm going to take that off, fill those out, hammer and dolly all this straight, clean it up. It's got that pretty straight there. I just want to fix this up. It's got a bullnose bit there, which means I've got to undo that brace. I want to keep that brace there when we weld everything together, because that's a good, like a rigid spot for it. The moment we take that out, it's going to flop around like an old fish. So I'll take this out, I've got to repair that. I'll repair these bits too. I might just take a bit of steel under there and then clean that off and plug weld all along it. Might be the way to go. But I need to get this straight. I will take that off to straighten it. A big box of Sigma parts. One of the things that was in that box is this valve cover, rock cover, in pretty good nick. It's not cracked anywhere, and it's also, I mean, it's got a bit of, what do you call it? Oxidizing on it, but it doesn't matter. It's in pretty good shape. So that's a big improvement on what I've got. So I'll whip that off to the hydroblast and get him to clean it. Okay, so I know we've covered plating, and I just want to go over something very, very quickly. I've had a lot of people saying to me, why don't you do your own plating? And the truth is I actually don't want to do it. I don't want acid bars in the garage. I've got the bench space for it. But not just that, I'm not going to be able to take a dirty bolt unless I really clean it, come up with that. Sometimes you will get this sort of thing, and that hasn't worked. Now, all the guard bolts for the Sigma are either rusty or they're covered in paint, and I soaked them in thinner and they're a pain in the neck to clean off and I can't be bothered. These are all bolts off the Starlet, the one that I wrecked, and they're just like brand new. I mean, what you'll find is it's much cheaper doing this than it is buying new hardware. There's a few things you need to do though. These aren't load bearing, so you can just get them plated. If you need to, if you need load bearing bolts like suspension bolts and everything plated, you need to get them heat treated because there is the chance of hydrogen embrittlement. I've covered this in other videos from the other cars I've done, but they might not. This car might have a different viewing audience. Now what I do, because I use Warner's in Bayswater, Warner's Metro in Bayswater for all my plating, because I've tried 3 other platers and they're nowhere near as good in quality as Warner's and they're a lot dearer. So why the hell would I do that? The other thing you can do, I just go to Bunnings and buy a small roll of copper wire. It's 7 metres, I think it's $5. You can get it a lot cheaper if you buy it in bulk, and I string them myself. And it's very easy on fasteners like that because you just literally wind it through there because that washer can't come off and it's 2 seconds to do it. It's harder when you get small machine screws and stuff like that. So I just take them in strings, about 600 long, in a bucket with my name, my mobile number, and whether or not I want them heat treated and the colour of the zinc. So they do silver zinc and they do gold. The other thing is, where you get literally 1,000 pieces back, figuring out where they all go. Now as I take them off, I write a list, and I've explained this as well, and each one of those dots means I've bagged that item. So for 6mm, I can't read that, nuts, lock washers, and that's what the purpose is, and that's the fan. So I just list them as I take them off the car. We'll put them in little piles as I'm taking stuff off. Then I stop, grab a ruler. That's a 10mm thread. That's a shouldered bolt, having had a fixed thing on it, and it's 65mm. So 2 65mm, a 10mm, and 2 40mm bell housing. Yeah, and that's how I do it. So I don't bother doing it myself because I can't be bothered, and I wouldn't get that sort of quality done. The other thing is, for things like Falcons, like the XWs, XYs, stuff like that, you can get bulk kits for them. Normally those bulk kits are $300 or more, and you'll only get half of what you need. You won't get all your clips done, you won't get a lot of your machine screws, you won't get a lot of those other bits and pieces that you need in order to make a in order to restore a car. You don't get washer jets, you don't get any of that stuff. And so all these sorts of things I plate because it protects them from rust and it looks pretty good as well. So some Sigma parts, and I've got a pet hate with unboxing videos because since online purchases, about 100 boxes rock up in every street around the world, and even dogs know what a box cutter looks like. And anyway, that's enough of that. The rocker cover came in this and I've sent it off for hydroblasting. This is a few parts that I needed though, and it was all very, very reasonable. Heater cable, one was broken. This guy at least had the foresight and common sense to label top side, heater tab, blah blah blah. So I got a set of them. He's thrown this in as well, a control set, which is awesome. Mine's in better nick than that. But having said this seems to work pretty well. So anyway, we've got that one. Bits and pieces. Headlight, I don't think I'll use this. I asked Otis if he didn't want this. This is a halogen type and I wanted a high beam. That looks like it's going to be a low high on the outside. I wouldn't mind halogen lights in this. Actually no, that is a high beam one. But he only had one. Anyway, I said to him, look, if I don't want that, is it any cheaper? And he said, no, the reflector's a bit dodgy, so he just chucked that in. This is the centre dash piece. Yeah, I could live without that. That's a bit of a shame. Had I known that, I wouldn't have bought it. But this one is in better condition in that it's not cracked and broken up along the top. I might still repair the one I've got. I'm disappointed with that. I could pop a choke cable there, but yeah, I don't like the idea of holes in dashes. Anyway, there was that one there. It comes with a whole raft of switches and spares and stuff like that, so that's alright too. I'm not fussed about that really. Sigmas have a very benign interior light. It sits up the front. It's got an even more benign little festoon. You can stick an LED in them, but as I said before, they're right up the very front. So the interior lighting's pretty dodgy, even with that. So he did have this, which I was quite interested in. This is a roof console. Now these things, they started getting prominence in the 70s and they turned up a lot in the 80s. This moves the interior light further back, which is a good thing. And it's got a little map light there. It's all just run off basically the interior light circuit, although there is a seatbelt warning there. We can put a little timer there. I might go to JCar and just get a 10-second timer on that. You can also wire it straight to the interior light circuit. The only thing with doing that is no one looks at the roof to remind themselves to put any seatbelt on. But that just clicks in basically. It comes with that steel bracket. That's not a bad bit of kit. It's quite unusual to see these. These are only ever available in SEs. They weren't in GLs or GLXs, so that's not a bad bit of kit either. Glove box. Again, mine's knackered because these tabs are broken off. We could have repaired it, I suppose, but this is all fairly cheap. And in the glove box are these, and I actually really like these. I've got them in all the Fords. These are the map lights that sit in the rear C-pillar, and the wiring is there. Mitzi, I've already put the wiring in. That's a nice little bit of kit. I might just see if I can clean them up a bit. They're a steel bezel, which I can remove, and I can repaint that little bit in there if I need to. There should be a pair of those, which there is. Here's the other one. Yeah, very happy with those. Very happy indeed. So I wanted those. All three Fords have got them. The XD's got them as well, which I put in later, and Ford had the foresight, of course, also to leave the wiring there. The XC came with them standard. The XW I put a set in as well. I don't even know what this is. Oh, this is a grill badge I was missing. It's got one leg broken apparently, which is that one, and we'll do something with that. But we can recolour that and stick it on the grill. So that's not a bad little haul with the rock cover as well. Notice this too, a little lamp that lights up the little bin underneath there on the console. I don't know if mine had that, but that's not a bad little thing to have either. Right, so it's 40 degrees Celsius outside at the moment. Great time to be inside. And there are 5 wires in a block connector. Now, this is insulated, so basically 3 of those are going to be to do with interior lights. We've got a normal interior light with off and door, a map light, so there'll be a constant power feed there. There'll be a feed also for the switch door, and there'll be an earth. Now, the other 2 are for a seatbelt warning light. The seatbelt warning light has its own wires going to this little globe. There's provision for 2 others there, maybe Scorpions had that or whatever. So in essence, we can just wire that in to the door circuit. But I want to do something a little bit different. There will be a relay in the SE cars. They'll have a different loom going up to the roof because there's only 2 wires going to the original light. Where the SE has obviously a loom with 5. Now, I'm not going to bother trying to source a relay for the interior lights in this car. I don't think it's worth it. Whatever the case, I went down to J-Car and bought this little kit. Now, this is $13.77. It's a light delay kit. So what it'll do is it'll leave your lights on for a predetermined period of time and they'll fade out, just like in a new car. My Commodore does that. I'm not really interested in that. I was more interested in using it as a timer for the seatbelt light. I can wire it up under the dash. It's going to be too bulky to put it out like that. It's going to be a little bit too bulky. It comes with a box, a project box, which is too big to fit in behind here anywhere. So that can go under the dashboard. The other thing we can do with it, of course, is we can have it in close proximity to where the actual interior light circuits are, so that if the seatbelt warning light doesn't ring out bell, we can just hook it up to the whole interior light circuit, because there are a couple of C-pillar lights as well. So we get a roll of wire, we get a project box, PCB, and a bunch of instructions. This isn't bad really for $13. $13.77. I think it's pretty good value. So what we'll do, I think we'll unpack this stuff and we'll start assembling it. I'll just need to go and get my other glasses and I'll be back. So this is pretty simple. Right, yeah. My daughter's here giving me a hard time. This is actually fairly simple. We've got a printed circuit board that has all the map of where everything goes on it. This thing will fade the interior lights down to nothing, but the moment you turn tail lights on or headlights on, they'll just immediately extinguish, and that's done through a bridge rectifier. So we've got an optocoupler here, we've got a bridge rectifier, we've got a trim pot, MOSFET, a few other bits and pieces, capacitors, resistors, diodes, and that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of videos on assembling electronic circuits. So this is a Sigma video, so we're not going to spend much time with this. I'll just go ahead and put it together.
Oh, it's all melted.
C1 is 470 microfarad. These are polarity sensitive, so it's a negative there, so that has to face away from the positive, obviously. So that will sit something like that. The instructions actually have it leaning over. They sort of have it a bit like that, so I'll do what they have a picture of. I sure as hell can't. I've got a new prescription for glasses, and I haven't sort of gone and got them yet. Alright, so we've got the 2, 4, 6 resistors in, we've got a diode in, we've got 2 caps in, a pot, a trim pot if you like, and we've got the opto coupler in. Right, here she is, all finished. We've got our block connectors there, and that will just clip in to here, something like that. That'll keep it there, and we just screw the lid over. All we need to do is just a couple of little holes or a hole for wires. So basically what happened is I damaged this. I was talking to my daughter, wasn't concentrating, and blew the arse out of the fet. I just went down and bought another opto coupler, another bridge, and the MOSFET was $4. So I mean 18 bucks, doesn't really matter that much. The bridge rectifier isn't really important because that comes off the taillight circuit. So basically what happens with this, you shut your doors, your lights dim down over time, and if you shut your door and the light's still on and it's about to start dimming down, you turn your taillights on, it cuts the circuit and just makes it dark all of a sudden. Just the same as what you find in a modern car. I don't want that side of the circuit, so it's doubtful whether I even need the bridge rectifier. I don't think I do. But yeah, I connected positive and negative across that across the FET, and I damaged it. So basically what we do is we turn it on. We're going to pretend we're not using this on the interior light circuit, we're just using it on the seatbelt warning light, and it will fade out. So that's still going. There we go. Disconnect it, reconnect it, and you're off again. So we can turn that down just by adjusting this little pot. So it goes, it's supposed to be 4 to 40 seconds. Well, it's really short. Right, so we're going to begin to pull the front end out. There's a few things I'll do in some sort of order. I'll take that off because once you take the tie rod end off, it's going to flap around. So I need to pop him out. And it's just easiest doing it like this. I think it is anyhow. And then we can just get the split pin and take him off. If I can find the end of it, there it is there. And we don't reuse split pins, we always chuck new ones in. And that can just pretty much stay. I'll take that off. So that can stay. And the other thing I want to check just before I take that off, I just want to check once the caliper's off that I can hear the bearing. I'm tipping, the other side was rumbly, so I'm tipping this is going to be the same. I guess the next thing to do is to crack the caster rod at the front. Like here, there's a couple of lock nuts on it, so I don't want to upset the back of it. We're only interested in just taking off the front nut. That way we can retain its adjustment, even though, bloody hell, that is tight. Just a minute, I'll need to go and get a breaker bar. These can be quite tight. That's not too bad. Where's my ratchet? I haven't got my ratchet with me. There it is there. So we can just take that, just loosen that off. This ratchet's had it, but it does the job. Crack the tie rod end, which wasn't very tight. I took the split pin off before. And I'm just going to leave the nut on there and give it a bit of a smack. And that's loose. So I don't want to breathe that crap in, so I'll just take that off. You should use this proper splitter for that, but I don't. You can see the tie rod ends are pretty well munted on it. And I think then we'll take the brake line off. And this has got two brake lines that split at the top there. I don't know if you can see that up here. It's got a split there, so there's actually two of them. There's one there and there's one there. And they've got little keepers there. There we go. We're just taking these little horseshoe clips off. There's another one on the centre, just which is access from this side. You can see here just how bad that brake line is, just in there. Excuse my sweaty hands. So I'll just knock that out. We can do that with a hammer and a screw stick, like this. And that'll just withdraw. All good. And just take him off the caliper from here. Alright, so we're just going to take this out. And undo that from there. As we said, there could well be fluid there. Doesn't matter because we've got a drain tray underneath, which makes life just a little bit easier. There we go there. It's not too bad on the front, it was just the rear fluid that I was a bit dubious about. You can see that's the first bit of line. I'm not sure if they've now made them, that's awful, if they've now made them as one. That looks still to be serviceable. I would sooner do both though. And we'll take the calipers off. And there's just 2 bolts. They look to be 17mm. And I'll whip the caliper off. I desperately need a new ratchet. My half-inch drive ratchet is crap. And I've had it from the 80s and it was only about $5 back then. But 9 out of 10 times I just use 3/8. And that caliper, pads are worn out. But otherwise it looks fairly clean. Just going to check this. Oh, it's a bit of noise there, but it's nowhere near as bad as the other side was. So let's pop that off, hey? And these have a hub which removes from the rotor, so that's all good. And we'll just wipe that off and put that there for now. We're not reinstalling these bearings, we're just putting them to the side. So that can stay there, it'll keep the nut in one place. Life's good. I guess the next thing we've got to do is take this backing plate off. Right, this is quite interesting actually, because on the backing plate behind it is a bracket for the caliper, and I would have thought it was cast into the leg of the strut, but it's not. It's just literally a bracket. So I'm just going to pop them in there for now. Whoops, just so I don't lose them. And this is going to give me access to the lower control arm, the caster rod and the sway bar. And we can take those off and then pop the strut out. It's all very simple. I really love working on this because everything's just so easy on it. It's not like the bigger cars. They're a lot more, no more complicated, but they're far more difficult to work on. And a few things here. We've got, as we said, the stabilizer link. So I'll give that a spray with my magic RP7 or whatever it's called, WD-40. Let's give that a spray. There's a bolt that goes up through the lower control arm. You take that out, that'll sway bar will flap around like an old flounder because it's undone from the other side. A couple of nuts under here, 14mm runs for the caster rod. And we've got 3 bolts, which are a 10mm thread that goes from the base of the strut into the stub axle. These threads didn't look too bad. You can always Y-wheel them before you spray them. And we'll just take that out through the bottom. And that whole stabilizer link will just fall apart. And we'll just put them together, and that way we remember how everything goes, even though you'd have to be pretty nutty not to remember this. But, you know, we'll replace all these bushes, they're only fairly cheap. And it's a safer thing to do. Now, one of the beauties of this thing is the caster rod housings come off. And the sway bar is actually threaded through it. I think we'll take the radius rod out, caster rod if you prefer, and that will just pop out. It's got a lock washer there, there's no night lock or anything like that, it's all pretty easy. We'll just withdraw. Now these, have a steel sleeve in them. The front one is worn, it's been sort of flogged out, so we'll stick another set of those on too. As we said, we're just going to leave those nuts there for now. If we need to take them off, if we do plate anything or whatever, we just need to take a measurement so that when we stick them together, we can get the front end alignment kind of sort of right. Right, that bottom ball joint's knackered, but nowhere near as bad as the other side. So why don't we take these bolts out here? So we just give that a tap. Right, I've just loosened off the lower control arm bush. And we can just withdraw the strut now. And it just all comes out with the stub axle on it. I just popped out the drag link just to give myself some more room. And I also want to rebuild it. Oops. Yeah, those bushes have got somewhere. They're probably passable, but fluid's just dripped out of that. Come on, out you get. Oh, that's much better. Pick it up through the top, I think. Cool. Good, that's the way we want to see it, with nothing left. They come out too. Right, so pretty well bare under there, which is good. That's how I want it. In the engine bay, there's nothing. The gearbox is still sitting there, hung on a bit of rope. Should really take it out. Might do the rear transmission seal. mount, I should say. Maybe even input shaft seal. You can see there's some oil in there, but that could have been coming from the engine. It doesn't smell like gear oil, so I'm not really sure. I might take it out. I can't be bothered taking it out at the moment though. Cast rod housings are out, so this is now much easier to clean up and paint. Clean up further, I should say, and paint. That's all. Got to do some work over there. What do we got? Bits. I have to clean the dry bay. My wife is going to go spare if she sees this. Drag link is dirty. Either arm's still attached to it and all that sort of stuff. I've just noticed something. I'll replace all of the joints, the ends. You can see this has got a tie rod end. There's a pair of tie rod ends there with a sleeve, where that side doesn't. Cross member, we can clean that up really well. Yeah, the little pissant U-bolts that hold the whole front end in, which I find quite amusing. The sway bar is very, very heavy. Must be very soft. Cast rod housings are another thing. To be honest with you, I can't really be bothered cleaning these up. I reckon I might just powder coat them. They got a blaster there, and of course there's your struts there and over there. This piece of kit here, I'm going to cut the end and bevel them and just bolt into the engine base just so I can stick a jack under it and pull the car around, because the car doesn't weigh anything now. There's nothing in it. It's quite light. The thing that is surprising though, no one's looked at this or serviced it. Look at this ball joint. I mean, that is seriously bad. That's why you have to have your car serviced. And in a reputable place like Raymakers or one of those sorts of joints, this thing has fore and aft movement and up and down movement too. So it's really, really bad way. It's not quite ready to break, but it's not far off. The steering box, I've undone the pitman arm, but I only tapped a little bit. I didn't tap it much because I don't like doing that with the steering box. I'll use a puller, get the pitman arm off, and we'll bang a seal in it. Hopefully it's in good enough nick. I haven't really looked at it. But that's how I want the car to be at the moment. So, when we paint the engine bay, we've got to block up those lines, hydraulic lines. I'm just going to stick a bit of wood right across the top and just strap the gearbox to it for now. It'll do. I can't be bothered taking it out. Unless I get some more energy, that's where it'll stay for now. This has already been drilled for another car, but it doesn't matter. Oops. Where's the center? It's about there. Sweet. Whenever you're going to put a big hole in something, always drill a pilot hole. You get amazed at how many people don't do that. Hang on, can I find it? There it is. Right, that'll do. We can pick the car up there, move it around. Jacking off that is better than here. The other thing I can do, I can just stick some steel rod between here and the gearbox, just hold the gearbox up, take the rope out, paint it up. You know, it just makes life a lot easier. It gives me ample time to just clean everything up. It's much, much better like that. I'm happy. In maintaining the pretty rough disposition here, I'm just let's try a bit of this stuff down. I've got to turn the gun up. Hang on a minute. I think one of the things is blocked in this gun. It's not flowing like it should. But you get the picture. We're leaving our underlay there while we paint around it. Rightio, so that floor's there, rough and ready. Just bogged up all these rust holes. Loads and loads of filler. No, I'm only kidding. I actually cut the rust out. These are the offending bits here. So, what have we been doing? Drinking tea. Aside from that, we have air cleaner, which I didn't paint the inside of, so it's very, very rough. But once it's cleared, it should look alright. Wiper motor, I did spend a bit more effort doing that, as I did with the steering wheel. The steering wheel came out really, really well. But we do still have to clear it. This is rough. This is not good. And there's all sorts of crap in here and in here, so I might redo that one. Not happy with that at all. Still looking at that thing and haven't done much with it. So, what have we been doing? Sigma. Right. We got 3 patches there, we've got 1 patch there, we've got 2 patches there, we've got 2 patches there. We've put a patch in there. We've welded up there. I didn't do that. That's Mitsubishi. That wasn't me. That was all clean. Wasn't worth doing anything with. Now, done a couple of patches here, and one in there for the speaker, and the other side too. This is what I'm talking about being rough. That's really, really bad, but it doesn't matter because what I'm going to do is use an ISO-free 2-pack clear all through here, all through the jams, and that means that when they go to put the urethane screen in, it won't interfere with the finish. Some acrylic paints it will interfere with, but it won't with the 2-pack. So that's the reason I'm doing that. Now later in the year when we go to paint theirs, that'll all get painted up to there. So that all gets repainted anyway. It just won't matter, you know what I mean? And then you won't be able to see it, it'll be seamless. Let's go to the front, have a look over here. New metal up there, new metal down here, and across there. I didn't like the pitted metal, you know what I mean? There have been things like this I found, and it's filler on top of rusty metal. I'm going to just bog that up. I'll take the drip rail mold off, and I'll just go over that again, and the same there. I did it here, and did a lousy job, look at that. But I'll redo that. I'll redo that bit, I can't leave that. Now, when I go to paint the engine bay, I'll paint up to there, because I haven't started doing that yet. Painted the floor. We'll stick 2-pack clear on that as well, because it'll have carpet rubbing up and down it. And there was something else I wanted to talk about. What the heck was that? I'm not going to start the engine bay until I fix all this up. I want that welded up, then I can paint it all at the same time. What else? Nothing really. Nothing really at all. That's just a very quick job on there. Scuff and paint. But it's looking good. And the main thing is that it's going to be very, very strong and good underneath where the sealer is for the screen. It'll get us through. I just want it roadworthy. So cosmetics on the outside can wait. That doesn't matter as long as it's one, sort of one colour. There's 2 colours there now. As soon as there's one, as long as it's one colour, I don't think there's too much to worry about. So, on that note, I am going to say thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy Classic. I'll see you around.